Hey everybody, welcome to the Cine-Scoots movie show.
And we are thankful for you.
We are thankful for all our millions of listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for this holiday season, remember you can give us the gift of sharing our insanely popular
Sharing
podcast.
our beautiful program.
Our beautiful program.
Subscribing to our beautiful program.
Which is getting better.
It is good.
The sound quality I think has gotten better. In the past year alone, I feel like our sound
Has improved exponentially.
Yeah, we've gotten better microphones. We got better editing software thanks to Spotify.
Exactly. Sponsor of today's podcast. Not really.
Is there a legal liability with saying that someone sponsors you when they didn't?
I always thought it was. Well, there might be actually. So no, they didn't sponsor us, but I always thought it was honestly
This is
just
free advertising.
didn't want to carry water for them for free. But who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, we are here to talk about a movie that's long, long gone from people's memory.
Sadly,
because
I went in hearing good things, and I was thoroughly impressed coming out.
Yeah, so we're talking about Transformers 1, which is the newest Transformers movie, but no relation to the Michael Bay verse of Transformers movies.
Correct. And who cares?
Listen, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I don't want to come out and defend Michael Bay's movies because I do feel out of the 7,
Yeah.
I think there's 7.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and then there's the Age of Extinction.
Did he direct all of them?
Yes.
Okay.
The Last Night. Bumblebee was not directed by him.
Do you count that as part of the 7?
It is because I
Yeah.
think it's the same continuity.
Yes.
And then Rise of the Beast. So 7 movies.
7
okay.
movies, yeah.
So out of those 7 movies, like 3 collectively are good. And what I mean 3 is like there's 2 good ones and like you mishmash parts of all the others to make a third movie.
That's really funny.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah. And I haven't even seen nearly all of those.
Dude, Bumblebee's so good. Bumblebee is
Bumblebee's
very
very
cute,
good.
very wholesome.
Yeah, I heard Bumblebee's very good.
And plus Haley's in it, and she's awesome. Anyway, Transformers 1 is our first animated movie of like the 21st century.
For Transformers.
Yes.
There have been other animated movies.
Absolutely.
In the 21st century.
Absolutely. I saw 2 of them yesterday. So yeah, this is the first animated Transformers movie in the last, what was the last one in the 80s, right?
Probably.
I think so. Like actual, like theatrically released movie.
Did you see that 80s one?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
It's also gotten a lot of buzz because of this movie, where people went back and they were like, this is a new Transformers animated movie. Let's watch the old ones.
Is that 80s one actually good, or is it basically just like a long commercial for toys?
Yes.
To which?
Yeah. To both. It is absolutely a commercial for selling toys, but it is also kind of good. It does have a really funny scene. Not a funny scene, but like a really cool scene of like the Autobots fighting some of the other robots. And the joke is you can set this fight scene to any song and it fucking rips.
Oh, wow.
And it's really cool. I have to send you a couple of the videos. But there was like Freebird. There was Kickstart My Heart.
Wow.
There was Highway to Hell. It's great.
All right. Time for some research.
Hell yeah, brother. We can actually pause so that Thano can watch, and then we will continue in a second.
All right.
So we're back. We showed a Thano a couple. We showed him the Immigrant Song one, the Freebird one.
Yeah, we did some research.
Slight research.
See, this is what
this is
what your money would go to.
Yeah.
Research.
If we get paid to do this, we're doing this pro bono.
Exactly.
But anyway, so yeah, so the old movie from just kind of did some light research myself. 1984. I'm pretty sure that is the last like theatrical animated Transformers movie. But this new one kind of came out of nowhere. I remember hearing about it.
You heard tell that they were going to do
that it was coming out. Yeah. I remember hearing some casting, but overall it was kind of all quiet on this movie's front.
Is that just like a Paramount thing, my friend? Because like we talked about Dexter last night, and then I was like, I saw the trailer for the new prequel series. And I was like, I forgot this shit was coming out. I thought it was like 3 years away.
No,
it's 2 weeks.
It is in 2 weeks. And I was telling Donald, and I was like, buddy, we talked about this.
We talked, but I didn't realize I didn't know about the sequel series. I knew about the prequel series. Anyway. Yeah. Not high on the radar.
Not high on the radar. But this new movie focuses primarily on like the goings on of Cybertron. Specifically the I wouldn't say this was like out of nowhere. Like the relationship between Optimus Prime and Megatron. I think it's always been hinted that they're friends. I'm not a huge Transformers lore person.
I was gonna ask how much you knew about. I also don't know a lot about the Transformers lore. And I don't know how much, like, I think when I was a kid and I learned that there, like, was lore, I was like, what the fuck? No thanks. But, I mean, I think the biggest praise I can give to this movie, and I think it's significant, is it made me care about Transformers lore.
Yeah, dude. When I was watching this, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of, it's kind of deep. It's kind of sad. It's kind of like, it feels epic in scale, even though we are only seeing like a small portion of the world of Cybertron, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of also telling that have you seen Rise of the Beast?
We saw it together.
We did, right?
Reviewed it on this show.
Did we?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I think.
But anyway, that movie, and no. That's why I wasn't thinking about it. It was Bumblebee.
Yes.
Bumblebee has an extended like 5-minute sequence at the beginning of the movie
talking about
that takes place in Cybertron. Oh. Like you get to see shit go down in Cybertron.
Yeah.
And it looks really cool.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's no fucking way they can make this movie live action, quote unquote.
Right.
And have it look this good, which is why they have to have it in Earth with like mostly human characters.
Yeah.
Right? But then this kind of just showcases why animation is
still a relevant medium.
Not just a relevant medium, but I feel like it's an untapped medium in American culture.
Oh, for sure.
I went on my umpteenth futile attempt at convincing Thano to watch anime last night. Because like in America, animation is really seen as like for kids.
Yeah.
Which is not something that the only other place that really has animation is Japan.
Right.
As like as an adult keystone like medium. China, I believe, has a bit. Thailand, I think. Thailand or Taiwan. I get the both sometimes confused where some of the stories come from.
Taiwan's the more high-techy one.
Maybe. Yeah. But anyway, they've started dipping their like toes into the animation market because they have their own style of comic called a manhwa, and they become so popular they started animating those. So then you have those stories, but I'm pretty sure most of them are still done by Japanese studios. That's why I think some movies, some animated movies that have come out recently really stand out to me in the US, because they do still have that like kiddish appeal.
Yeah.
But then when you actually sit down and watch them, like they are very adult stories.
Puss in Boots. Yeah.
I'm still kicking myself that I didn't like see that earlier and then reviewed it with you.
I also saw it on the computer.
Well, I saw it in theaters, but we saw it like almost 2 months after it had been out.
Right.
It was well past like the height of prime. Yeah. And it was a really mature story about like existential dread and dying.
Yeah.
Right? This movie is a movie about like oppression and essentially like dictatorship.
Yeah. This movie's got like themes that are not like wholly original, but like themes that fit very well into this IP. Almost shockingly well.
Yeah. So this movie focuses again, Optimus Prime, Megatron, they're former friends. They are like tight.
Yes.
They're mining bots.
They're working class citizens.
They are working class, right?
Yeah.
I wish they would do a little bit more in the movie with showing the different levels of like working class in.
That could be cool.
What was it? What was the city called?
Ionaka.
Ion something.
Ionka, yeah.
Something like that. But it really does focus on
Iacon.
Yeah. It really does focus on just this small group of friends going up against like the regime.
Yeah.
So this movie's available on Paramount. It's easily available. Go watch it.
I was shocked how fast this movie was available.
It didn't do numbers, my man.
Which is a shame.
It's a shame. So let's talk about some spoilers. So we meet not Optimus Prime, not Megatron. We meet Orion Pax and D16.
What
which
different names?
Wildly different names. Right? I mean, I guess Orion Pax, you have the O and the P.
It could get there.
Yeah, right? You can see the path. But like D16,
that is
I love how they're always calling him D.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of that Tom Segura joke. But yeah, so they're best friends, they work together. We also have Alita 1. She's been in other Transformers things.
What's her name in Transformers? It's
Alita 1.
It's Alita 1?
Yeah. She's in Rusted Beats.
I know she's the motors. I recognize her from there. She's the motorcycle.
And then we also have B127.
I was so, for whatever reason, I guess I think I'm just like kind of stupid for not anticipating this. And I'm not even a huge Bumblebee fan, but like,
you didn't know that was him
when Bumblebee popped up.
Oh, you're like, oh fuck, it's me.
Exactly.
I do like that this movie. It's strange, right? So you're watching the movie and you're used to watching the Transformers franchise, and these robots are massive.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're always comparing them to your human
characters,
yeah. Yeah, your human point of view, right? So you're like, oh, these guys are massive.
Yeah.
But then at the beginning of this movie, where like Pax and D are just like these skinny little kids.
Yeah, it puts some perspective.
Yeah, you're like, damn, these other guys must be even bigger. But it's also the fact that like they don't have their transformation drive.
They don't have cogs.
The cogs,
which
right?
I don't know. I didn't do any research, but I had no idea if that was part of the lore or not.
I could see this being part of the deep lore.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem with Transformers. It's that like it's a crazy popular franchise on name recognition alone and the movie franchise.
Yeah.
But if you ask someone, hey man, what can you tell me about the comics? They'll go, excuse me?
Yeah.
So like a lot of people I feel like don't realize just how deep the Transformers lore really goes.
Right.
It's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Right? Like people recognize that they're like the popular movies and the TV shows.
There's 4 turtles.
But like
they like pizza.
Yeah, but like a huge chunk of like the turtle lore comes from like comics.
I had one of them. Donatello had a magic crystal that he attached to a pencil, and then things and drawings came to life. It was pretty cool.
What is this, Chalk Zone?
Pretty cool. I love this Chalk Zone. Now we're on.
Anyway, I really appreciate the background they give us early on in this movie, right? Because it is very much like the story told by the victors.
Yes.
Right? So we are told that when the world was created, there were all these primes, and they had like prosperity and peace, and they had energon flowing.
Yep.
And then
everything
the
changed.
Fire Nation attacked.
When the Quintessons attacked.
Yeah. Eventually they won the war, but everybody was killed. It became dangerous to live on the surface. They had to mine for energon. And that's what everybody believes. It's like nobody ever questions it.
Yeah.
Which I think it's also kind of interesting. Like in most movies, someone goes, this doesn't feel right. And they're like, you're crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's not that D16 and Orion don't have like higher ambitions. But like the society, other than the fact that it must just suck to be a miner, the ones that can transform kind of treat them like shit. Like, doesn't seem that dystopian.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of why I wish we had gotten
a bit more
of like the other layers of power here. Because like we know there's other people.
Right.
And they specifically make a point to say like being a miner is just basically like a dead-end job. Like that's really all you got.
Yeah, so I do and I don't. I think ultimately I fall in your camp, but I think the way this movie executes that opening, one, it makes it not too long.
Yes.
So you get to the really fun stuff pretty soon.
Oh, for sure.
B, I think it does make the characters of D16 and Orion so like innocent and endearing. Both their transformations on the end are just like
they are stark contrasts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So yes, could have done with more, and yet I think we efficiently got to the latter act.
Oh, for sure. No, I think my point is more that it would be good to see just how bad their situation actually is and how much like they're in kind of like drink the Kool-Aid mode.
Yeah.
Because that really is kind of what they're at. Because, like, D is like, no, this is fine. Like, this is our job. We need to get it done. Right. Orion seems to be the one who has, like, more aspiration.
Don't you want to go to the big city, D?
Basically, right? He wants to prove himself. And at first, I think it's kind of interesting that he's the one who is kind of, like, naive. I don't know if that makes sense. Because he's like, if we prove ourselves, like, things will be better.
Yeah.
And, like, you kind of realize, like, no. Like, no matter what you do, you are going to be a minor bot. Like, Sentinel Prime is not going to notice you.
Which is interesting because it's Megatron at the end who's ready to, like...
burn shit down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think that then does track very well with their paths.
Yes.
Because, end of the day... Pax really wants things to be better for everybody.
Pax wants things to be better. I think at the end of the day, Megatron is really rooted in, like, despair.
He's rooted in despair. He's rooted in betrayal. He's rooted in, like, kind of like your entire worldview shattering.
Yes.
Very fast, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, he goes from, like, this is our life. This is my idol.
Yep.
Because he idolizes Sentinel Prime.
Yeah.
He fanboys over him. And I think just having that betrayal from Sentinel Prime
is
enough to, like,
pushes him over the edge.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of scary how fast he's willing to. I know we're skipping ahead, but it's really scary how fast he goes from, like, this is bad to I'm going to fucking kill him.
Which makes me think that there is really just a lot of pent up anger and despair
and resentment
in there the whole time, and now he just has the powder keg and the excuse to sort of, like, and the power to let it fly.
So I like the scene.
Yeah,
I like the scene where they're in the mines, kind of like showing how it extracts the energon, which I think is a good scene to show, like, just how dangerous this work really is.
Mm-hmm.
But also does a really good job at showing how they both do care in their own ways. Like, yes, Megatron is the villain. Right. He is the villain of Transformers.
Yeah.
Right? You have bigger bad guys. Unicron is like a big bad guy in Transformers.
Galactus, basically, right?
Yeah. But end of the day, if you look at Transformers, who's the baddie? It's Megatron, right? But this movie shows that he still cares about his people. This is the way he goes about it. This is your traditional MLK, Malcolm X.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think the whole time, I'm going to bring this up again. I think the whole time you watch this movie, it's not a story you haven't seen told multiple times before.
Absolutely not.
But seeing it told
with robots,
with Transformers, and how well it fits. It doesn't feel shoehorned at all.
Yeah,
is amazing.
I'm curious about. So they get into this race.
Yeah,
they're trying to prove, which again, very exciting scene. End of the day, very low stakes, right? Like, they're never really in any danger.
Yes.
This is not, like...
They're not really going to get in trouble.
Yeah, so you're watching this movie and you're like, this is fun. This is where we get, like, our good look at Sentinel Prime. And he seems kind of like he's a cool dude. And he wants to reward them.
Yeah.
Right? But then I wonder to what degree he actually wanted to, or if the plan was to just throw them into the wood chipper, or if this was Darkwing just doing it on his own.
So what does he tells them, like, go, so they enter the race. Are you talking about him winning the race, or are you talking about, like, the end of the race?
So the end of the race happens, right? They're in the infirmary. Sentinel Prime comes to meet them,
and he's like, "Go encourage your."
He's friends. Like, go encourage the other workers to, like, be best.
Yes,
right. And then Darkwing shows up
and he throws him down to floor 50.
So then I wonder, like, did Darkwing get sent by Sentinel Prime, or
I read that as mostly Darkwing
doing his own thing.
Because A, they humiliated him in the race.
Yeah.
B, we find out later that Sentinel Prime has motivation for the miners to be extra motivated.
I guess that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did take it as him actually thinking they're like they can motivate the miners to work harder.
Dude, one of the things that I found the funniest though was the introduction of Alita. Because she's their supervisor, she's their boss.
Yes.
And she comes in flying in, and she's like being very militant. She's like,
she gets demoted right away.
She gets demoted right away, but there's a line which is like, "I'm finally getting a promotion." They go, "Very good, Alita 1. Are you happy for me?" "Yes, Alita 1. It made me laugh irrationally. It was just really funny because she's so cocky.
Yeah.
And I think it's the fact that it's Scarlett Johansson with her like voice just kind of throws you for a loop a bit.
Man, we have to say it again. What a cast.
What a cast.
Wait. Can we pause to say that not only does this movie have the same rating as Conclave, both are PG movies, but dare I say,
this movie has more swearing.
An even stronger cast.
It has a stronger cast. It has some weird swearing.
Yeah.
Where he's like, "Badass Adron."
Exactly.
That made me laugh a lot too. So we finally do meet B. He's weird. I like his weird energy.
Did you call that was going to be B right away?
Yeah.
You did.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, once it was revealed, but like when you saw the scary robot next to the like the fire, I was like, "Oh shit, what's that?" And then it took off.
My assumption was that it was him because of the fact that we're like half hour into the movie.
You would need to meet.
I was like, we gotta meet B soon. Yeah. And I was like, this is probably him.
That's true.
They get him to go to the surface. They get into this really cool chase scene with like the planet, and this is where we get revealed the truth about what happened.
And that deer are cool.
Donna's really
I love the deer.
The deer are really cool. Yeah. I do like that they address that too. Because they're on the surface and they're like, this is weird, right?
Yeah.
They're like,
this isn't metal.
This isn't metal. Like they're like, what's this like flappy thing?
Some kind of nature.
So he says some kind of weird nature.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because they're like, those are plants.
Right.
And then he goes, yeah, and those things are weird too. And he points at the deer, which I thought was interesting because I assumed
they would know what
robot deer are, but apparently not.
Not in the big city.
Not in the big city.
Yeah. Which, and let me just pause to say multiple times, everything up until this point and even later on at this point has looked amazing. The planet chase looks amazing. The deer look amazing. The fire wood chipper looks amazing. The race looks amazing.
The landscapes in this look amazing. Like it all looks clean. It all looks distinct.
Yep.
You're watching this and you're like, this feels like something that I don't think I've seen.
And I like that it's not using the Spider-Verse style. Not that there was any danger of that happening, but it's like its own crisp, unique style that isn't copying blatantly something else.
But that's also kind of where I would compare it to Spider-Verse, where it's such its own style of animation that like if another movie comes out and it looks like this, I'd be like, oh, they are copying Transformers. They are copying Transformers.
Yeah.
Right? If I see another cel-shaded comic book movie, I'm like, they are copying Spider-Verse, right? Even though we talked about it already, like Puss in Boots, Last Wish.
Yep. Copying Spider-Verse.
It not necessarily. It's its own. It almost looks like fairy tale animation. Like if you were to open up a fairy tale, like a book, I feel like that's what it would look like to me. So like, yes, it does have that like this is coming out of like the pages of a book. Yeah. But to me, this feels like this is what I would see if I open up a kid's fairy tale book.
Yeah.
But that still looks very, very unique compared to all the other Shrek movies.
Oh, for sure.
So I do appreciate when an animated movie comes out and they have its own distinct look.
Yeah, well executed style.
Yeah. I thought the introduction of what are the big robot things called?
The terrorist or the Quintessons?
Yeah, the Quintessons.
Yeah.
Like that's a very tense scene.
Yes.
Where like all the deer leave, they are in that like torn down, like rundown city.
Yeah.
And these things are scanning for life forms.
And then immediately you see one get scanned and then like nuked.
Yeah, which was really it was really funny to see, but also very scary for our heroes. They meet Atlas Prime? No, something.
Well, first they meet. So it's Alpha Prime, I think.
Is it Alpha Prime?
I think it's Alpha Prime. But before that happens, as they're like trying to escape getting scanned, I love the part where where they're running and from the scanner, and then Optimus has the wherewithal
Oh, to hide under
the thing.
Yeah.
But then he's holding B and holding himself on there. So neither one of them
Have you seen Squid Game? That's straight
from there.
Yeah. Where they're playing red light, green light.
Oh, okay.
And one of the guys, he's about to fall.
Yeah.
And our hero grabs him and holds him up. And then right when he drops him, the thing turns around and they're both spared. So that was straight. That's all I could think of that.
Yeah.
It's happened in other things before.
Yes.
But that's the most recent comparison I can think of.
Yeah.
Alpha Trion.
Alpha Trion. But they're looking for they got a map to the primes. They're looking for them to try to find the matrix of leadership.
The matrix of leadership.
And they find all the dead primes. And then they see that Alpha still has his.
He's still alive. His spark is weak. They say.
Exactly.
They give him some
power down.
They give him some food.
Yep.
He comes up. It's Lawrence Fishburne.
It's
not Samuel L. Jackson. Not Samuel L. Jackson. He will get very mad. Samuel L. Jackson will get mad if you call him Lawrence Fishburne.
He will indeed.
He will indeed. And he reveals the truth. I love the way they showed this visually. It wasn't a flashback. It was using the sand in the cave to animate. And so then they get to see what happened. Down. But it wasn't how in movies they always have that shitty thing where they're oh, there's a hologram projector that recorded everything.
Yeah.
And you're all right.
Well, this makes sense when it's robots.
Yeah.
You could build one in the robot.
Yeah, but they didn't though. What they did was he recreated it with the sand.
It would make sense that a robot could do this.
Which is it's funny that they chose not to do it. But yeah. I do think it's kind of funny that even after this is revealed, D is so refusing to believe Sentinel Prime turned on them.
Yeah.
That he just does not believe it.
Yeah.
And it's not until the following scene where he actually sees Sentinel Prime bend the knee to these weird tentacle monsters.
Yeah, they're cool.
They're really cool looking. I kind of wish.
Are they ever in any other Transformers movies?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would like a sequel to this with those guys. Don't get me wrong. Seeing robots fight each other is really cool.
It is indeed.
But I think this, having this other threat come in, I think could also be kind of cool to see on screen.
I agree.
Especially in this animation style, I think would be really good. So once they're finally convinced that this is not on the up and up, they get their new cogs and they transform, and immediately they get a really cool upgrade.
Yeah.
They look bulkier, they look taller, and when they get ambushed, I noticed that Alpha Trion turns into a beast. And I thought that was really cool.
Yes.
Because up until now, everything that we've seen has been cars and planes and tanks.
Which I've always wondered the lore of how they have race cars. Or why would they have race cars on this planet?
But one of the things that I did notice though is even without the human contact, it does kind of track here. Because they do have roads, they need to move things. They have trains. Clearly, they have sort of ships, right? So those things are all pretty standard. But if you notice, they don't have rubber wheels.
Yeah.
Right. They have they look almost like train wheels. Their scene where they're first transforming, running down the hill.
Yeah.
Where they're kind of not confident in how to do it,
execute it right.
But you notice that they don't have car wheels necessarily, right? I think
I don't think you ever see the wheels fully on the truck.
You do.
Rubber wheels?
Not rubber wheels, but they have these ball wheels at the bottom. So it kind of shows they have their own
sort of transport technology.
Yeah.
That they would.
They're copying kind of what they use to transport things, right? They can't transform themselves, but they do have trains to move the Energon in and out of the city.
Yeah.
They do have vehicles that people can fly in. So they're just turning into those.
Yeah.
So I guess in a way it's kind of, you don't need that human element to still get to vehicles.
Right.
Which I think is kind of funny.
Right.
I'm also curious though, how do you feel about like the introduction of the High Guard.
The High Guard is Starscream's people, right?
Mm-hmm. Because this is after this, like they get chased, but then they get captured by these guys.
It did. I will say, like when I was watching it did seem like almost like one plot revelation to too many, right? Like you went from like them never seeing the surface to the surface being like mostly abandoned, and, like constantly being scanned for life by the Quintessons, to now like, oh, there's these like
underground
500 terrorists.
Well,
like, I mean, right here just chilling.
It's kind of weird, right? Because like I may have missed this.
Yeah.
I can't remember if the High Guard knows the truth.
I think they do.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that because I think they're always antagonistic towards Sentinel.
Okay.
And I think because when he gets captured, he's like, I finally caught like the mighty Starscream or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I guess in a way it kind of makes sense then, especially if they do know the truth, whether or not they know they don't have the numbers to go out and tackle the city.
Correct.
So they just kind of like doing what they can to like survive.
Yeah.
Which does make sense. In a way, this kind of then does add that layer of, well, now D has a group that he can feel a little bit more kinship with.
Yeah.
Right? They also have that resentment.
Also, okay, so what is like, from previous Transformers lore, I always knew that Megatron was like the Decepticon leader, and Starscream was like really, really big. But like, it almost felt like there was always like a rivalry between like these two characters, where like Starscream was his number two, but he almost like didn't.
He has ambitions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that consistent with how those characters have been portrayed?
I mean, I do think in the movies they do have a bit of that kind of like
relationship.
Yeah, because I do feel like Starscream is kind of like the underling.
Yeah.
But like he does have more ambition, and I think this kind of fleshes that out. Where like Starscream was
the head
was the big guy. Yeah, he was like the guy on top. And now that Megatron comes in and kicks his ass, then he becomes the leader, which he accepts.
Yeah,
but he still has that desire for like, I want my spot back.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of tracks for me a bit. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. Good. Dude, that scene where he's like beating the shit out of him and just getting madder and madder and madder, and his fucking arm turns into that gun.
Yep.
And Starscream's like, whoa, please don't. Because at first he's like goading him on.
Right.
Because I think he's not taking him seriously.
No, he just learned how to transform like 2 hours ago.
Yeah. Which, yeah, why would you?
Exactly.
But then like just immediately being able to like just like fucking cannon out of your arm.
And that's what I think makes the Megatron character so well thought out in this movie, because like he's able to climb to the top of his new social pyramid purely on rage.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing that we also learned that we haven't touched on was that this matrix of leadership vanished. Right? Like it's not something you can just steal.
Yes.
So when they talk about Primus, I don't know what that necessarily is. That like their deity?
That's what I kind of took it as, and like their planet core. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because when you see Optimus finally get it, it looks like it's the planet core
gifting it to him. Right? Yeah. So it's strange, but yeah. So apparently, in order for you to get the Matrix, you can't just find it.
Right.
Primus you can't just take it. Primus has to deem you worthy of it.
Correct.
Which I thought was very interesting, because then you go, yeah, if this guy wants the power, he would have taken it.
Right.
So that makes perfect sense. But when they decide they're going to attack the city, Optimus Prime does not want to do that.
Correct.
Right. Pax wants to kind of reveal the truth, expose Sentinel for what he did.
He's got the tapes.
He's got the tapes.
Yeah.
He's got the P tapes. But nah, dude. Like D is like, I am going to kill him. I'm going to make him suffer for what he did to all of us. Like, I will have no mercy.
And D accidentally destroys the recording in a fight. I can't remember how. Like the evidence doesn't the evidence get damaged or destroyed?
Yes. Yeah. But then they remember that they can use Arachnid's memory to expose
what's going on.
I don't know exactly how that necessarily
works, but they
can't. And the whole attack, I feel like the whole third act of this movie is really cool. Like just robots fighting, the action is dynamic. You can still tell what everything is.
Yes.
The backgrounds are muted enough that they don't lose their color, but like it lets you still contrast with like how bright these robots are.
Which is where I think this is where the biggest contrast between this animated movie and the live action for me comes in. Is like I pretty much always thought and probably will think that the Michael Bay robots are ugly.
Yeah, I do think they've gotten better.
I think they've gotten better.
They've gotten more distinct.
But I think there's a cap to how better looking that style can get.
Yeah.
And I think that in seeing them fight here and just how bright and clean and like easily discernible everything is, like, I will take this fight scene.
So I'm curious if you ever watch Bumblebee, I'm curious to see what you would think, because that movie actually does feel like it has color.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the other Michael Bay movies, they do feel very like gray and muted.
They're products of the late aughts, 2010s.
Yeah, where everything needed to look dark.
Exactly.
Like in Bumblebee, like B is very bright yellow.
Yeah.
The villains, like there's two main Decepticons. Like they are, one of them was like bright purple, one of them is like bright red. So like they stand out. Even in Rise of the Beasts, I feel like you get even a little bit more color.
Yeah.
Like Alita being like bright pink stands out a lot too. So I do think there's a bit more wiggle room in some of the movies that are not being made by Michael Bay.
Yeah.
But in this movie, like it stands out so much more.
Yeah.
The animation just always helps.
And because it's all in animation, the characters also seem more human, even though they're robots.
Okay. I was gonna bring this up later.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, to me, it feels very weird. Their whole body is very rigid, right? They're very angular. Like their fingers are basically, yes, they do bend like hands.
Yeah.
But they're all composed of like, each knuckle is like a little square with like a gear. But then their face is silky smooth and it moves.
I do think the faces look.
It's so weird, right?
Look weird.
Because like the eyelids, there's a few shots where they show people's eyelids.
Yeah.
And their eyelids look like there's like different layers of metal like stacked on top of each other to make it like a functioning shutter.
Yeah.
Right? But the face moves like flesh. It skeeves me out.
It does skeeve me out a little bit.
It's off-putting.
Which I think is nice when they go through the full character arc, because then like
the mask comes in and absolutely. Yeah. I remember watching last night being like, oh man, that mask is doing so much heavy lifting for this face.
Well, because they're baby faces at the beginning.
Right? Yeah, there's that, but like there's gotta be something you can. One thing, like back to Michael Bay, one thing I praise him for, when you look at Transformers faces, they look like machines.
Yeah, but I don't like it. I'm not saying there's a good way to do that with live action. I think their faces also are weird to me.
They are, but I think it's the uncanny valley of like, this is a face, but it's made of metal. Whereas in this one, I'm like, this is a face that should be made of metal, but this looks like gray skin.
Ay, tan.
So they finally unmask Sentinel to the world. People are rioting. People are fed up.
Yeah.
And Pax is like, we won. Yes. We did it. We saved the city. And fucking D is like, nah.
Right.
I'm gonna kill him.
Yep.
And I knew he was gonna stop him. I knew this was going to cause a conflict. I was honestly kind of caught off guard by the fact that he does.
That he does stop him?
No, that he does fucking kill both Pax and Sentinel Prime.
Yeah.
Like I thought, fine, maybe he does kill Pax and he gets Jesus.
Right.
I thought they were going to stop him from killing Sentinel Prime. He would get jailed or whatever. No, he fucking rips him in half.
No, I don't think you can leave this movie. I think that's just really cool.
It is really cool, but I was a little surprised. I was like, oh damn.
I don't think you can leave this movie with Sentinel being alive. I think he has to be a casualty of this movie.
Maybe.
Is it just inherent to the Optimus character that he has to like die? I feel like what's the term in the Spider-Verse movies for the
Oh, it's a canon event?
Yes. Is that a canon event for Optimus? Optimus has to die and come back. I feel like it has to happen.
I think it's the fact that he comes back that makes it a non-canon event.
Yes. But I feel like it has to happen often enough.
It does happen almost in every movie, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he dies in the second Transformers movie. He dies in like the third one at the end, I think.
Does he die? Do any of them die in Beast Wars? I know in the show Beast Wars, Optimus Primal dies and becomes Optimal Optimus.
Optimal Optimus. I don't remember. He dies in the Transformers movie.
Yeah.
In the animated one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But it's crazy to me. In this movie, he's very much like, no, we don't need to kill. Like, we can solve this in other ways. But B is just chopping people up with his knife hands.
Well, I think this is where it's interesting. I think what makes Optimus Prime such an endearing character is he embodies so many of the traits of an ideal leader. And you're like, yes, you should inspire people. Like, yes, you should be slow to use violence. And then like when you stop to think about it, like some of that, I don't want to say doesn't make sense because I don't not want to believe in everything that Optimus represents. But like you're like, killing is bad, except when we did it to all the grunts. I think there is a disconnect between the ideal of Optimus and like the reality of what like leadership is. And yet I want to believe in Optimus.
I do think this movie does a better job at showing that even though Optimus and his crew are not necessarily like unwilling to kill these other robots, like you said, this is like their last resort. Whereas I feel like in the movies, in the Michael Bay live action movies, there's so many times. Have you seen Cosmonaut? His videos that he's done on Transformers?
I haven't, because I haven't seen enough like Transformers movies.
I think you can watch those movies and just laugh at the jokes that they make. But they point that out so many times in the movies. He goes, I will kill you. I will kill the humans. You will die. And they're like, holy shit, is that his catchphrase?
Yeah.
And in every movie, he's like, I'm going to kill you. And I'm like, whoa, Prime, slow down. Yeah. In this movie, yes, he is willing to kill if he needs to, but it's not like his primary function.
Yes.
Like he avoids killing Megatron at the end.
And that's what I think makes him the ideal. He's like textbook. Like he is Superman robot. Like he is, right? I mean, I'm not the first one to make the Jesus comparisons. But
no, absolutely not.
Yeah, but like Optimus is robot Jesus.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised by how they handled Megatron's turn there at the end. Because like all writing conventions would probably dictate that like he shoots Pax, right? He's got this massive hole on his chest and he goes and grabs him from falling. And in a normal movie, you could write it where like Sentinel gets up, attacks Megatron, and then Pax falls, and he's like, "Oh, my friend, you got him killed. I'm gonna kill you," and that snaps him, right? In this movie, though, he is holding on to him, and he's like, "I'm done saving you," and that's what turns him.
Yeah,
he makes the conscious choice of letting him go.
Yeah,
not saving him. I thought that was very interesting.
Which is why I actually want to watch this movie again, because I want to see if there's more breadcrumbs that sort of show Dee's gradual dissatisfaction and like anger building up like throughout the movie.
Oh, it's definitely there.
Yeah, I think I want to see it now more with the ending in mind. But I think you're right. I think it is like
it's interesting to me that is what turns him, because his eyes, that's when they turn red.
Yeah.
Which is what we're all familiar with, seeing Megatron with the red eyes. But I just thought it was interesting that is, it almost feels like this character is not redeemable, which I think is kind of on brand with how Megatron is always portrayed. Like they've tried doing things where he teams up with the Autobots in the movies, but at the end of the day, he's always like, "Mwah!"
Yeah.
Right? In this movie, like it almost makes it hurt more to see their friendship crumble. And it's also like I said, it's one of those things where like you expect it to be like a tragedy that turns him.
Yeah.
Right? Like having someone else take his friend away would almost feel like
push him over,
like the more conventional way to go about it. I do praise his movies for like the uniqueness of No, you are dragging me down.
Well, this kind of goes back to what I said before. Like he's primarily motivated by like despair and then rage.
Yeah.
And like at that moment, he's like, "This hasn't been working. It's never going to work." The only thing that's,
Yeah.
The only thing that's I don't even think that he believes that what he does is necessarily going to work in terms of it's going to make everything better. I just feel like he just thinks that that's the least bad option, right? Is just to take control.
And he does say like we are not going to have any more leaders necessarily. He's like, we're not going to be oppressed.
Yeah.
Like we are going to fight for what we want.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because like in turn he does become a leader.
Correct. Well, anyway, that's why I think. Oh, so this dovetails to my other thing that I love. You know how movies like Solo, like, will explain to you where the name Solo comes from.
Oh, in the stupidest ways.
Yes.
It feels. It's funny because like you're watching the movie and they talk about Megatronus Prime.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's where he's gonna get his name. Look at the sticker he's got. Yeah. Which, by the way, that was kind of a cute scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where he's like, I know you're mad, but look what I got you. I got you a sticker.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's a sticker. But then like he's so happy, he like puts it on his arm. And he's got like his tattoo.
Well, and then when he's getting like when they're captured,
getting tortured,
right?
Dude, that was fucked up.
That Sentinel takes the thing he loves and he turns it into an object of pain.
Yeah, he like the equivalent like tattoos it on him.
Yeah, it fits. To me, it fits the origin very well.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Optimus gets named, I forget what the exact words are for Primus, but like something about him, like an optimism.
Yeah. No, this is that trope done, and I feel like one of the best ways.
Yeah,
because like I love a lot of like what we've seen in Marvel. I love a lot of what we've seen in even in like some DC things. Mm-hmm. But it always feels like, all right, you have an end.
Yeah.
You have an end and you want to get there. How do we give the Scarlet Witch her name?
Right.
Right. How do we give like these characters their hero name? And it always feels like you're starting at the end point.
Yeah.
And you're kind of reverse engineering it. Whereas in this point, yes, that is still what is happening.
Yeah.
But this feels like organic. Like this feels like, yes, he would take the name of someone who did not let him down.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Megatronus Prime did not let him down. He did die in this war trying to save the Matrix of Leadership, doing what was right.
Right.
That is the one moral that he has that has not let him down.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he would take it. He has his core, right? His gear.
The core,
the cog, right? The transformation cog. Yeah. So like that to me tracks perfectly. The Optimus Prime one, I'm like, all right, whatever. I love it's a little silly, but
I love them. I think it fits.
It does. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I just think the Megatron one, where he was like, this is what I want.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
Very cool,
dude. The voice cast in this is nuts. It's stacked. I think Brian Tyree Henry does a good job, kind of like going from this like, yeah, he's a little serious, but he can be a bit goofy,
right?
To like straight up just like, I am angry all the time. I think Chris Hemsworth is the one that feels the most like he's trying to sound like Optimus Prime.
Possibly, but
especially at the end.
I think if you're going to insert a new voice in there, I think Thor's voice fits the characterization of the character very well.
It does, but my is at the end of the movie, I feel like Megatron sounds
like unique. Megatron.
Not even that. No, he sounds. It's still. I still go. Oh, that is Brian Tyree Henry doing his thing. Yes, he sounds cool still. Mm. Yes, I can buy this being Megatron. Whereas with Chris Hemsworth, I feel like as the movie progresses, he starts to sound more and more
like Optimus,
like the voice, like he's trying to
emulate.
Yeah,
I can see what you mean. Whereas Brian Tyree Henry's being his own.
Yeah, it feels like he's doing his own thing. Yeah. Whereas Chris feels like he's trying to like do an impression.
Yeah.
I am Optimus Prime.
I think that's fair.
I do hope that if we do get a sequel, it's not a sequel series. I hope this gets like a proper cinematic like theatrical release.
Have there been talks about them doing?
They've said they were hoping to get like a full franchise out of this.
Yeah.
Because like I always feel like that's a good way to lose momentum, especially like if you're making something into a TV show, you run the risk of like going, well, you went from a movie to a show, so right. It's already it already feels like a downgrade.
Yeah, and I think, well, I don't know if I'm confident enough to say that it's not a dying market, but I know that the big streaming services now see that the shows are not making them like the money like they hoped that they would.
Yeah,
that they would make. Now, I don't know if theater is going to fill that void, but I was very disappointed today when I found out that this movie did not do that well, and I really do. I really do wonder why.
I honestly have no idea.
But it's honestly great, and I hope that someone up there in that big Paramount ivory peak of a mountain is brave enough to say, "Hey, man, like this did really well." Like I think if we ran it out again, I think we could do better.
My only fear for this movie's ability to get a sequel is the budget.
It's got to be big.
It's estimated 75 to 145.
Yeah.
That is a hell of a fucking gap, dude.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we are months out from release and there's still like it could be this, could be that.
It's like times 2.
That it came out in like September here.
Yeah.
It came out the same weekend as The Substance. That's crazy.
I feel like this should have been a summer movie.
And it underperformed at the box office. Beetlejuice was drawing in big numbers, so like you can't be like, oh, it was a depressed market. No, Beetlejuice was making bank.
Yeah.
The Substance, for being an indie, well, like a relatively low budget movie, body horror, like very well. I think just kind of proves that like this movie just was not hitting right.
Now let me put it this way: if I didn't hear that this movie was great, right? Not just good. If I didn't hear that this movie was great, I would have not. And we didn't go see it in the theaters.
We didn't.
Yeah. I do think that there is something about the Transformers IP. Like I was gonna make this comment earlier. We were talking about like the names and how well they work. And when you compared it to like how like Marvel sometimes has to, like they have to retroactively engineer the name to fit. I was gonna say I think it's impressive that it was able to do such a good job telling the story of the names of these characters with the IP that I read as like the most shallow. Like I know they're all meant to like sell toys, right? Like all the nerd shit is meant to sell toys. But to me, I feel like Pokemon is meant to sell toys the most. And then it's like Transformers. Like I feel like they are the most merchandise heavy over like story heavy of everything.
I do wonder for this movie if that will be a factor as far as sequel potential.
Oh, selling shit?
Yeah, because I know that a lot of and we've talked about this in this pod before. Yeah. A lot of movies, even if the movie is not itself profitable, if they can connect the performance of the movie to the performance of toy sales, if it's high enough, well, they go,
which is interesting.
It's a good investment.
Because I do think the animated medium gives you more, this is my non-expert opinion, but I feel like it gives you more opportunity to sell more toys just because like you can make more cool, like
it looks cooler
designs.
Yeah.
And like I think the toy Optimus you get based on like the live action movie is just never gonna like look as real as the one that you see
on the TV
on screen, where like a Darth Vader action figure looks like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I think the toy that you get for this movie is gonna look kind of accurate to like what the toy looks like that you see in this Transformers 1 movie. So maybe
that's a good point.
Maybe that's an avenue. But yeah, I do think maybe one of the reasons that like this didn't do so well is I don't think the Transformers IP has like a very good reputation. I think it could have a reputation of being like kind of like fun.
Yeah.
But like not good.
Yeah.
Like I was shocked that this movie was apparently great. I heard great things like going into streaming it, and I was still surprised as to how much I liked it. So yeah, I hope we get more.
I am very much hoping we get more. I do think, even though the movie came up short, I mean, 120, that's really not a lot.
No.
Damn. Yeah, no.
When is the G.I. Joe crossover happening?
I think the next year or two.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right, friendo. Thank you so much for watching this with me.
And what number episode is this, my friend?
That's actually a very good question. This may be like 98.
Oh, so we're coming up on something special.
Something special.
Interesting.
Something. This is 98.
I wonder what we've got in the cards.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's John Wick 4. It's John Wick 4 again, everybody. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Please check this out. This is a really good movie.
Yeah.
Remember to share us.
Share us.
Like us.
Like us. Paramount seems to be like the least annoying about sharing accounts. So, get a Paramount account for
but they're also fucking stupid because they make you get a Paramount account and then also a Showtime account.
That is stupid.
That is so fucking
That'll
stupid.
be a discussion for another day.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, he has been Thano.
He has been Javier.
This has been the Cine-Scoots Movie Show. Bye.